Introduction to Hmong Shamanism 101. My name is Tufong Lee. Let's get started. Alright, so the outcome of this presentation or webinar, basically it's just three goals for this webinar, right? So it's to have a better understanding of basic Hmong Shamanism, to understand the process and journey of a Hmong shaman, and then to learn the symptoms and types of Hmong shamanism. So this is the 101 series, if you will. It's the first part of a three-series presentation. And so this presentation really will go over the definitions. It'll go over the terminology, because really that's really important to understand that, as we'll be using it throughout this presentation and also the other presentations as well. All right, so what is Hmong shamanism? So the definition is the belief that existing bodies, human or animal, have souls, and that the physical world, which is Earth, coexist with the spiritual world, or also known as the spiritual realm. The universe is inhabited by not only humans and animals, but by spirits and energy. And shamanism can have similar beliefs as animalism. It is in the belief of reincarnation. They believe in karma. And so, again, shamanism is this idea that our world, we coexist with the spirit world, that once our body deceases, we still live on beyond that. Shamanism is not only unique to the Hmong, but it is experienced and also practiced by dozens of other cultures and ancient groups in many geographical locations. Examples include China, Korea, Russia, Mongolia, Africa, Native Americans, India, South America, many other cultures, ethnicities, um, groups practice shamanism as well. And that's the unique thing about shamanism, is that in cultures that are on opposite side of the globes, we can see similarities between shamanism. Now, there are two types of shamanic consciousness, or shamanic symptoms, if you will. The shamanic conscious or shamanic symptom is becoming aware or on becoming a Hmong shaman. So it is this step of becoming, the process of becoming woke, becoming awakened into your shaman journey. The first one is the physical or the physiological aspect. And when a selected shaman experiences a near-death experience and or a consistent and persistent pain over long periods of time, they are experiencing their physical or physiological symptom. And the important part to remember about this is that there is no medical explanation or cure for your illness. You might have exhausted all medical treatments available to you, and your pain or your physical pain hasn't gone away yet. The second one is the paranormal or supernatural aspect to the symptoms. A selected shaman will experience paranormal or supernatural phenomena, which is experiencing out of the norm or unnatural occurrences. Now, this includes things like miracles, dreams, both latent and content material, possessing psychic abilities, psychological symptoms of depression, bipolar, mania, schizophrenia. These fall under the paranormal or supernatural symptoms. Now, these symptoms, or these two types of consciousness, they have social, political, and anthropological influences that affect these symptoms. Most Hmong shamans will experience both types of symptoms. Someone who experiences the physical symptom or physical consciousness will also experience the paranormal. Someone, and vice versa. Someone who experiences paranormal consciousness will most likely experience physical. This is their beginning of their shaman journey. So before the 1970s, the Hmong settled in mountains and lowlands of Laos, and they had very little access to mainstream medicine and very little knowledge, if you will, about the physical body. So therefore, when a shaman or when a person became sick, the symptoms often worsened, resulting in a near-death experience. It could be something as minor as a diabetic shock that needed to, that they needed to seek medical attention for. But because they didn't have the medical resources, it led to other things affecting other parts of the body, ultimately leading to near-death experiences. Now, however, with the advances in the medical and technology fields, there is a decrease in the physical symptoms, as this can be now explained and treated through medical means. So what we see with shamans today is an increase in paranormal and even psychological symptoms. So in other words, the physical or physiological symptoms can be explained through medical means. We can get that treated for, right, as compared to the 70s. And so we're seeing an increase then in the psychological symptoms. So the paranormal or supernatural symptoms or consciousness includes things like seeing or hearing things before they happen, clairvoyant abilities, the ability to communicate with the deceased, dream interpretation, experiencing unexplained events, miracles, energies reading, psychic reading, fortune telling, and experiencing psychological symptoms, experiencing psychological challenges like depression or bipolar fall under the paranormal or supernatural symptoms. So these are just some of the basic terms that we will be using throughout this presentation or webinar. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, these are some of the terminologies. So on the left side, we have the English term. On the right side, we have the Hmong term. I'm gonna quickly run through this. If you need to go back and look at it again, I do recommend that. But a shaman or the term shaman can be translated to Hmong as Ning. A shaman ritual can be translated as Oning. The male shaman can be translated to Zi Ning. Zi is translated to father, right? And then female shaman can be translated over to Nia Ning. Nia is translated to mother. Now there are two types of rituals which we will go over. The first one is a diagnostic ritual, which we translate that over to Oning Shai. Shai is translated to see, right? To see something. And then the second type of ritual is the healing ritual, which is translated over to Oneng Ko. Ko translates to fix, so to fix something. So who is the shaman and what is their role? So a shaman is basically an individual who possesses the ability to heal sickness through spiritual evaluation and medium. What the heck does that mean, right? They are the in-between for what we were talking about, our physical world and the spiritual world. They coexist between two realms. They can coexist between two realms. A monk shaman has the gift, if you will, to mediate and communicate between the spirits in the spirit realm. That is their role. So they are a traditional healer, as you can see in table 1, who can diagnose and treat a spiritual illness. Keyword is spiritual illness, not medical illness, right? And so they are called or chosen for by spiritual forces, which we will go over in a little bit. And then they serve people of all ages, all genders, all symptoms. Um, Moving on. So there are, again, the two types of rituals, the diagnostic ritual, which again is Oning Shai, and then the healing ritual, which is Oning Ko. The first one, the Oning Shai, or the diagnostic ritual, a Hmong shaman performs a diagnostic ritual to see or examine what has occurred that caused a person to fall ill. Now, this is the shorter of the two rituals, and no animal sacrifice is needed for this ritual. There is no healing of the individual for this ritual. The shaman simply examines or observes the person's soul and diagnoses the root cause. So, what would cause a person to fall ill? We will go over this in a little bit as well, but some examples include a frightened soul, a wild spirit taking a soul, right? Because shamanism is the belief of all types of spirits, wild spirits, ghosts, demons, devil, household spirits, right? And depression and much more. And then the healing ritual, or the Oning Ko, is a Hmong shaman is when a Hmong shaman performs a healing ritual by entering a trance, a spiritual trance, and attempting to find a soul and bring it back to that individual. Now, this requires an animal sacrifice, and this sacrifice will be used to trade for a person's soul in the spirit realm. Now, there are exceptions to this. Most recently, in the 21st century, we have seen that many shamans nowadays use uh, objects from nature as sacrifices, like rocks or logs, things of that sort. So an oning call takes longer than a diagnostic ritual, and during an oning call, the shaman goes through various stages or journeys into the spirit realm. Now, each stage is a crucial step in the healing of that individual. And I like to always use the example of um, when you go see a doctor, you first go in for a checkup or a diagnosis, and then there's a healing afterwards. It's kind of the same thing for Hmong shamans as well. All right, so what is used during an Orning call or a healing ritual? So most shamans will require the use of a sacrificed animal, the pig being the most popular animal to use. You can see in that picture, the shaman is the one wearing the red veil, and then there's the pig that is being used. This picture, what the shaman is doing is the shaman is doing what we call van bo or van ju. That just means tying the pig's spirit to the person's spirit before they go into the trance. Now, the pig has a special folktale and folklore within the Hmong community, within the Hmong culture. And so the story goes that a long time ago, the pig told the shaman that they will agree to be used as sacrifice to help find and heal a human soul, but under conditions that all pigs must never work and they can only eat, sleep, and be lazy until they are used as sacrifice. And the agreement was that the pig will be used for 1 whole year to protect a person's soul, and after that they must be released to the afterlife, is what the religion believes, right? The afterlife, reincarnation. And so that is why we believe today, that is why the Hmong people say that pigs are so lazy, they do nothing but lay in mud and eat all day, is can go back and be traced to that story. All right, so spirit money. So spirit money is used as well during an owning call ceremony. Um, Spirit money is special money. It is folded from joss paper, and it is used during any owning ritual. These money can be given to ancestors, spirits, ghosts, etc. as offering. Now, there are three types of spirit money. The first type is satseng, which are just square cutouts of joss paper and can be used as basic money. There is chuandao. Chuandao is used during healing rituals, often for heavy or serious situations. And then there is yakao, dinkao. This is only used for deceased spirits, often for ancestors. And these are mostly used for funerals, but also New Year's, things of that sort. So this is a picture of yakao, dinkao on the left. They basically look like boats. And then on the right, we have satsang. All right, so when is a Hmong shaman requested? So a Hmong shaman is requested if an individual is spiritually sick, spiritually ill. The Hmong believe illnesses can be attributed to a spiritual illness. And examples of spiritual illness may include a frightened soul that results in a soul leaving the physical body, which will cause illness, and then a soul falling into the hands of a wild spirit, causing illness. An evil spirit or ghost surrounding the soul of the person, which can cause a person's body to be weakened. And then angry ancestral spirits, household spirits causing illness and bad fortune in the home, and many more reasons why a shaman would be requested. Um, Thankfully, shamans are requested for other occasions, such as a pregnancy, the birth of a new child, if someone is traveling far, and also during the New Year's as well. Types of Hmong shamanism. So there are many types of Hmong shamanism nowadays. However, traditionally it was understood that there were only two types. But because of economical and socio-political changes that the Hmong had endured in the Hmong diaspora, causing them to move around the world, shamanism and religious belief is influenced by their geographical locations, and that is true for religions and spiritual practices. So for example, we have Hmong Thai, Hmong Laos, Hmong Chinese, Hmong American, Hmong French, Hmong Australia. We even have Hmong Israeli, and believe it or not, etc., etc. So an example of this could be that a Hmong shaman from Thailand may use a different dialect and incorporate Buddhist beliefs in their rituals versus a Hmong American who may not, right? We know that Buddhism is very popular and is very well practiced in Thailand. So a Hmong shaman may be influenced by that. Another example may include that a Hmong shaman from America may wear American clothes and American polo versus a Hmong Chinese who may incorporate Chinese clothing in their ritual. So all in all, each shaman has a lineage that they are told that is passed down from family to family and from master to student. So the very first type of Hmong shamanism is Ning Zheng or Ning Zong. This is a traditional type of Hmong shamanism. This type of Ning is passed down from generation to the next. Selected individuals are selected by their ancestors who were shamans before them. Typically, the selection occurs every other generation or skips a generation. For example, if Tu has a type of shaman, Thu's father could not have been a shaman, but Thu's grandpa could have been a shaman. So it skips a generation. Again, there are exceptions to this as well. Nothing is set in stone. Neng Zheng, they typically wear black shaman veil over their head. And this type of shaman mostly they have shaman spirits or shaman guides that help them heal sick individuals, help them find souls of weak souls, and they often don't do any black magic or deal with exorcisms or demonic possessions, things of that sort. And again, there are exceptions to depends on the individual. Another type of shamanism is Neng Shi Yi. So this is also considered to be traditional in a sense. Selected individuals are said to be chosen by Shi Yi himself. Shi Yi is said to be the very first Hmong shaman and spiritual healer who received his gifts from heaven to help heal humankind. Now, she is said to be a very strong, but also a very patient, loving, and peaceful shaman. Now, Shi's story, which we won't go into detail, but Shi's story ends in the tragedy of his son and his wife, and therefore leaving all his gifts and instruments to humankind. So the ones who have this type of shamanism is believed to be a descendant of the original people who received his gifts. Now, almost all shamans call and use his name during rituals, and this is a way for the shamans to gain his strength and to protect against any type of dark energy. Very interesting type of shamanism. The third one is called Nenglengao. So people who have this type of shaman are said to be directly selected by Lingao. Hmong folktale tells that Lingao is Shi's son, who was also a shaman. The story for this type of shaman is kind of unclear. So some shamans who have this type of lineage will draw their strength from the colors green and red and also use these colors on their shaman altar. So if you walk into a Hmong person's house and on their altar they use the colors green and red, chances are they may be Nenglingao, they may have this type of shamanism. Lingao is said to be used in a ritual as a seer or a spiritual entity that can see into anything. So during a shaman ritual, if you summon Lingao, think of Lingao as an eternal flame of sorts that shamans use, and they use this to light their way into other worlds, shine the light. And this eternal flame can never be turned off. So it's a very powerful flame. So Ning Shao, these types of shamans are often referred to as the psychics of the shaman world. They possess many different abilities and aspects of shamanism, such as being able to communicate with the dead, fortune reading, cleansing, witchcraft, and also black magic. Hmong folktale tells a story of an immortal man named Shao, and he was given powers from heaven to help and heal people here on earth. He is understood to be a very natured man, a man who likes to be in nature. He lives in the caves and in waterfalls and in the forest, and he's very connected to the nature side. All right, so the last type that we'll talk about is Ningpo. So this type of shamanism is a very, very old style. Ningpo, I guess you could say, is a type of shamanism, but it can also be a type of ritual, if you will. Very few shamans claim to be this style, and often it is not accepted as a way to heal anyone nowadays. So Ningpo is basically black magic, or if you know the term necromancy. One only performs this ritual to go into the other side to communicate with the dead or lost soul. When an individual is very sick, it is believed that their soul has left to the underworld or is on their way to the underworld, or reincarnation, if you will. So, a shaman who performs this style of shamanism is said to go with a dark entity known as Bokhe. Phuoc in Hmong culture is an entity who travels to and from the other side. They are the one who flows with the wind to the other side, and that's their only mission. Their mission isn't to bring you back. So if you get left there, you stay there. And that's the danger of Phuoc. So story has it that many shamans have died performing this style of ritual. Ningpoke is given the nickname of Ninki Dia, or translated to turning spoon. In order to perform this ritual, a shaman must have a very experienced helper or assistant to turn a spoon counterclockwise to symbolize going back to the land of the dead. And if gone too long, that shaman would have been gone too far, and there will be no means of coming back. So a shaman who has this type of shamanism or who performs this type of ritual, in other terms, can be called a necromancer, one who summons the dead. It's important to note that these different types of shamanism is not the entire list. I'm sure there are more, but these are the 5 most common types of shamanism. All right, so let's take a look at the 2 types of dongnings or shaman bench. A dongning or a shaman bench is a shaman's horse. It is used as a means of transportation. There are 2 types of shaman bench, and what determines if the shaman uses the short bench or the long bench depends on their master, and we'll get into that as well. So the first type is Ning Tia Dong. Ning Tia Dong is a long and flexible bench that is used by shamans who jump or bounce on the bench. This bench is narrow and skinny. So if you look at the picture at the top, that is a very long bench. It's very flexible. Think of it as a trampoline. Shamans who use this table very much so like to bounce or jump on this bench. The second type of dongning is Ning Qin Tia Dong. Now this is a short bench that is used by shamans who stomp on the bench. This is typically a much wider and shorter bench, as you can see with the picture at the bottom. This is used for shamans who like to stomp hard, or yes, shamans who like to stomp hard on the table use this type of bench. So who or what is a sifu? A sifu is any shaman who becomes the teacher or master to another upcoming shaman student. Typically, this means the shaman master will raise an altar for another individual and follow in their footsteps. The role of a master is to help guide a student and teach them the basic needs in a ritual. In general, it is understood that a sifu has been practicing for more than 20 years and have mastered rituals. However, there are definitely exceptions to this. When a master raises an altar for another shaman student, a piece of that master's lineage is expanded. The student and the master then share some form of common knowledge, and it is believed that fate has brought them together. Now you determine your own master by asking them to perform a special ritual, and through this ritual, the student shaman will shake and go into a trance. If they do, it means that the master and the student are fated. If the student does not shake and go into a trance during this special ritual, that means that fate does not align and the search for another master must continue. And we'll go over that as well. So in this picture, uh, on the picture on the left, if you take a look at that picture, there are 2 shamans, 2 benches. The gentleman on the right is the master, and then the gentleman on the left is the student. This is a ritual known as Oneng Cha Ta, and that is when the master comes and raises the final altar for their student. This is the final phase, final stage of becoming a shaman. And so as you can see, they have similar veils, similar clothing, and a similar bench. Same thing with the picture on the right. That's a very, very long bench. And so, as again, they have a similar veil, similar clothing, um, and this is a master raising their student in the final phase. Think of it kind of like a graduation. So how does one become a shaman? A person cannot just wake up one day and choose to become a shaman. The shaman spirits choose an individual, and if there was a shaman in the family line once before, chances are they will continue to be a shaman in that family. Now, shaman spirits choose an individual by making them sick or experiencing a near-death situation. Sicknesses, and we've talked about this earlier, include cancer, different types of diseases, infections, arthritis. Can also include mental or psychological illnesses such as bad dreams, nightmares, psychic abilities, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, things of that sort. Sicknesses must last a period of time and also, like I said before, exhaust medical treatment. Now, people who are selected as shamans, again, uh, must experience the two shamanic consciousness or symptoms, either physiological or paranormal, which includes illness or near-death experience. And once they have experienced that, a shaman will be called to perform a diagnostic ritual. That is the first stage, is the diagnostic ritual. And stage 2, an experienced shaman must come to perform a diagnostic ritual for the individual, and only through that will we determine if they have been selected to become a shaman. Now, the experienced shaman must travel to the other realm and speak with the family's ancestors and determine if the individual has been chosen. The experienced shaman receives an answer, and if that individual becomes better, that is an indication that they have shaman spirits. So when the experienced shaman goes into the other world, to the other realms, they'll make a deal and say, in 3 days, my person has to become better if they are meant to become a shaman. In 3 days, if that person becomes better, the cancer is cured, the disease is cured, the arthritis is gone, that is confirmation that they have to become a shaman. Now, in stage 3, if that person becomes better, a confirmation ritual is performed in which the individual is seated on the shaman's bench with a veil over their face, and the shaman bells in their fingers. Then the experienced shaman hits their gong and calls upon the shaman spirits. If the individual on that bench shakes and goes into a trance, that is a sign and confirmation that the master has been chosen. That person will become a shaman. Now, if the individual on the bench does not shake or go into a trance during this ritual, that simply means that the experienced shaman is not meant to become the master. The shaman spirits choose the master. The family must then find another experienced shaman, and a confirmation ritual is ignited again. Now, in stage 4, once the individual finds their master, training begins. Now, the student shaman will practice and train on a small altar for about 2 to 4 years. This varies. Thereafter, the master shaman will come back and raise a big altar to a much will raise a small altar to a much bigger final altar. So what happens after the master shaman comes and raises the big altar? Well, the student shaman is complete pretty much. It is graduation for that shaman, for that student shaman. This means that they are no longer a student pretty much. So once you're done with high school, you get your diploma, you're no longer a high school student. It's kind of the same understanding for a student shaman. Once they raise their big altar, they are no longer a student. They themselves are an official shaman. The master shaman remains a resource for that student for the rest of their life. And they are then simply considered an elder shaman, and their student must hold the utmost respect. Shamans after that can go and heal anyone in the community, and their journey and their process as a shaman begins as that. Now this ends our presentation or a webinar for the 101 series. The 102 and 103 series will be coming out shortly, so look out for that. Thank you for sticking with me through these 36 minutes, and we'll see each other again later.